Hi, and welcome to month 2 of our coaching program. I'm so excited that you're still here, and I hope that month 1 was helpful. Establishing your meaning is such an important thing. Month 2, we're going to talk about establishing your status. Status is a very interesting thing. I mentioned last month that human beings are the most meaning-seeking creatures on the planet. And one of the ways that we help establish our meaning is through status. And there's several different ways to establish status. And in this first week, I'm going to talk about status by comparison. This is probably the most common way that we find status. We compare ourselves to others. There's the has and the have-nots. There's the rich and the not rich. There's the elite and the not elite. And it can be frustrating, and it can be really painful. Status has a direct link to your core values. So as you reflect on this video this week, I want you to think about how you establish status, and is it really in alignment with your core values? I had an associate in Portland. It's one of my favorite status stories because, this guy was very well off. He had a VC company and had been in business for a long time. His company owned a Sky King propellered airplane that they would fly around in. And he scored a mega deal that allowed him his life's dream to hit a higher level of status by buying his own private jet. And he bought a Citation 10. And he was so proud of this airplane. And he had gone to the University of Oregon, and the thing that was funny, I know a bunch of people from there. One of the kind of the status-orienting things is during the football season, because the U of O is known for their football team and the football program, is all of the mega rich guys fly their planes into the airport there in Eugene, and everybody looks at everybody else to see what they fly in on. And this guy was going to go from his Sky King to a Citation 10, which was a big step up. And he could not wait for everybody to watch him exit this beautiful jet. So he flies in and he gets a particular parking spot, and his pilot puts it right there in front of everybody so they have a great view. The stairway unfolds, and he in all his glory takes a deep breath, and he's ready to descend and have everybody watch him come out of this Citation 10. About the time he hit the doorway, Phil Knight from Nike comes flying in his G5. And everybody turned their heads and watched this beautiful G5. It dwarfed every other plane on the tarmac. And nobody got to see my friend descend from his Citation 10. Status by a comparison can be a very confusing and elusive thing. And it's kind of funny because when we do comparison, status by comparison, we're not really dealing with accuracy necessarily, because there's a lot of people that have a lot of stuff that are really rich. And there's a lot of people that have a lot of stuff that are really in debt. So it's not always an indicator of true status. I remember I was in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico years ago, and we were staying in this very swanky hotel. And the ownership was shifting their hotel rooms to timeshares. And they basically broke us up into groups of 5 and then sent us somewhere into an exclusive room. This was the close the deal room with the salesman. We got on our group got on the elevator, and the salesman, who had a perfectly good watch on, asked one question when the door closed. Does anyone have the time? So everybody lifts their arm up and looks at their watch. And I noticed that he had a watch on, but he wasn't looking at his watch. He was looking at all of ours. And he was establishing status based on comparison. Who had a Rolex or a Cartier? Which women had the biggest diamond rings? He was looking at who he could potentially score that, number one, has the resources, or at least appears to, And number two, who likes to be the flashiest? So they would be the ones that would be most likely to want to show off to everybody and buy a unit. Status by comparison. That's our focus this week. Think about what you value. If the way that you establish status is in alignment with your core values, and are you establishing yourself and others accurately? Sometimes you might be putting yourself a little high. Maybe you underestimate yourself. The rules that we set, the way that we compare, and the way that we measure status can be very deceptive. Next week, we're going to talk about status not based on comparison, but where you fit in most comfortably. But for this week, I want you to be honest with yourself. Where do you establish status by comparison? Are you truly being accurate and fair to yourself? And is the image that other people put off really who they are, including yourself? That's your homework for this week. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this coaching program is helpful for you. If you need some help on this, feel free to email me, Toby@tobychristensen.com. We'll see you next week.